Hello and welcome, Adam Thomas from Balancing Touch Reflexology. So good to see you and thanks for joining me today. Today I want to talk about being a reflexologist, and sometimes it can be really challenging considering, we might get some other people saying, reflexology isn't scientific, there's no research to this, what you're doing isn't real. Things like that, right? So today I want to just make a video about the challenges in doing research for reflexology and getting it to be a scientifically proven, modality or method, right? So let's go take a look at this. So those of you who are reflexologists and stuff, we know and see on a daily basis, especially if we're working with clients, changes that we see in people when they first come through our door to when they leave. There's definitely a change, at least that's what I see, even when I go for myself, even if it's not reflexology, if I go to get a massage, if I go to get, acupuncture or anything else like that. In this whole topic of, sort of manual therapies, there's a definite change. You come in and you're stressed and your shoulders are up here and stuff, and you leave, hopefully anyway, feeling relaxed, and your shoulders get some more distance away from your ears and things like that, right? So we do see this change, and I think that's what, for at least for myself, that's what keeps me going, because I can see a definite change. The face looks a lot lighter, it glows a bit, it just looks lighter, looks happier, looks warmer sort of feeling, right? You can see layers of stress being released after a reflexology session, right? And so we know it works, right? We don't really need any scientific backing and stuff. But there are a lot of challenges if we do and want to prove, reflexology is scientific, right? There's a lot of challenges that we face. So the first point that's really challenging with research in reflexology is creating a placebo, right? So if we're to check out different vitamins or medicine like that, right? You give the real medicine to a group of people, and then you give a placebo, a sugar pill or something like that, which is nothing, right? But they take something, they think they're getting the medicine, and then the research follows the results of that, right? But it's really challenging in reflexology because it's a manual therapy. How do we give a placebo? We can have, to the extent of somebody who's a reflexologist, they know all the points and stuff, and then they can have somebody who doesn't know anything and they can do that. So there is a tiny bit of a placebo effect that can happen, but at the same time, it's not as clear as, the vitamin or the pill, the placebo effect sugar pill type thing, right? So that's a major challenge in and of itself, is to create some kind of placebo control. Another challenge that reflexology has in being researched is the huge scope and variety of techniques out there, right? So if you go to different parts of the world, they have completely different techniques. And there isn't a standardization of techniques, right? The points are relatively standardized and things like that, but how we actually work the points and our intention on working it and all that can be completely different. So having that broad range, it's really hard to research the effects of certain techniques that have on, the end result, right? So that is in of itself a big challenge, right? You have people who give really light pressure. You have people, in China and Taiwan and things like that, where they're using tools and they want to they want the client to jump out of the chair. And, you have other parts of the world where it's more of an energetic sort of feeling stuff. So all these techniques create a very difficult way to, research and come up with a study. Third idea is the actual client's individual responses, right? So you have such a wide variety of, pain tolerances of different people, right? Like, as we know as reflexologists, we know that some people like, a way deeper pressure. Some people are very sensitive. Some of the reflexes that you're hitting, some of the points on the foot can be really sensitive and things like that. So there's such, with the person that you're working on, all the people that you're going to be working with, there isn't a single technique, right? We talked about technique, but that's going to be consistent with how they feel, right? And there can be a lot of psychological issues, like they could think, oh yeah, reflexology is awesome, it works, it's great, it's all that sort of thing. Or they're like, oh, I hate my feet being touched. And so there's so many variations to studying reflexology's effect by the person that you're working on, their response, right? So they might just not like the practitioner that they're getting worked on, and so that totally changes their outcome on, the results of the study that you're doing, right? Or their feet might be too sensitive and the practitioner might be too hard, right? So there's all these variables just when you're working with different people. So the individual response and their perception on their belief and their feeling about the reflexology session is going to create a different outcome. So it's really a lot to absorb there. So that's also another issue that we have as reflexologists when we're trying to do research. The limited lack of funding that reflexology would receive, right, or does receive for research, right, is pretty low as far as in the medical system of things to get studied and things like that. So there's not a lot of funding, which means there can't be a lot of high quality research put into this. So, there has been a whole bunch of studies done on reflexology, but they kind of tend to be a bit more on the lower budget, person to person, or each reflexologist doing their own kind of studies and sharing their findings with other reflexologists and things like that, right? So funding is a major one because we don't have access to really expensive scanning equipment and things like that, right? So funding is a big hurdle for reflexology research. So another challenge is defining the outcome measure, right? So a lot of studies, they'll attempt to do more subjective interpretation, so like relaxation and stress reduction, right? That will be their focus, where some objective studies will have to do with actually seeing physiological changes in the body, right? So again, determining what it is that the outcome, the measurable outcome that we're looking for in a reflexology research is quite a challenge. It can go, again, in so many different directions, right? So that's another factor of why it's so hard to research reflexology. So another factor would be the integration or the challenges with integrating into conventional medicine, right? So reflexology tends to be a complementary or alternative therapy, and so we kind of lie on the outskirts of conventional medicine, right? So being able to do a full study with people who do research, medical professionals, things like that, right, is going to be really essential to build a comprehensive research in reflexology, right? Having the same terminology and, speaking the same lingo, things like that is also a big challenge for a lot of reflexologists, right? So that, again, is another challenge that reflexology research has. So yet another challenge that we have, and this is probably the last point that I have for this is basically publication bias. And right now, probably this video that I'm making is a bit of that, because we tend to only want to publish any positive results that we get, right? And a lot of the negative doesn't get published. And so there can be a bit of it, one-sided sort of the story, right? So again, this is another challenge to actually coming up with the scientific evidence of reflexology, right? The research of reflexology. So there you go. There is 7 points there on all the challenges it is and why it's so difficult to study something like reflexology, right? It's very hard. The same kind of issues happen in any type of manual therapy, right? Massage therapy all the way to acupuncture and things like that still are trying to gain traction in conventional medicine, right? And so but there's a lot more in those other ones I mentioned. There's more funding and there's more sort of backing towards that, right? So reflexology is quite popular now and it's all over, and it wouldn't be if it didn't work, right? So even though there's all these challenges, I see somebody coming in my door and they leave feeling refreshed is enough for me. It's enough evidence that I need to keep going as a reflexologist, right? So just know I wanted to make this video to kind of just show you how broad, and I never really thought about this either, but that's why I wanted to make this video, is I did a little bit of research on how it is that they study something. And all these factors are really stacked up in a lot of ways against reflexology. There's so many challenges to make a viable, comprehensive research into reflexology, right? And the cool thing about it is, because reflexology is so popular, there's lots of people out there, including myself and you yourself, doing individual and writing and doing our own research about reflexology, and then we pass it on to other reflexologists. And that's sort of what this channel is about, is sharing sort of my findings in my practice with you, right? So hopefully this doesn't get you down about all this stuff is so hard to overcome, but it's good. It's a good challenge to and it's also really good to just at least for myself, to not just go, oh yeah, it works, and then ignore everything else. But it's good to look at both sides of the coin and see how we can keep improving our technique, improving the way that we do reflexology, right? So anyway, blah blah blah, long video about me talking, but yeah, so anyway, hopefully that was helpful. If there's any information that I have for sure I've left out, but add to the conversation. And there are a lot of good reflexology research projects going on right now. One in particular that I've want to kind of direct you towards is Barbara and Kevin Kuhn's. They do amazing research on reflexology. So if you don't know who they are, I'll put a link in the description below so you can go check them out. And they just do amazing work on research and the study of reflexology. So please go check them out. And if you can help in any way, they do have some funding requirements, because they do some pretty crazy research. So anyway, there you go. That's all I have for today. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. If you're interested in learning more about reflexology, you could subscribe to the channel below. It's also very helpful to hit that like button, and feel free to share it with anybody who you think might be interested in it. You can find my online courses, Reflexology Charts, and other reflexology goodies over on my website, which is balancingtouch.ca. Thank you so much for watching today, and if you have some more time, you can check out some other videos. Till next time, this is Adam Thomas from balancingtouch.ca. See you later.